The knock came just as the sunlight cut through the cracked window like a blade, exposing every unpaid bill, every empty corner, every silent failure I had been trying to ignore. It wasn't just a knock, it felt like a deadline, like the final warning before everything collapsed. My heart pounded as I stared at the door, knowing exactly who stood on the other side. 3 months of unpaid rent had finally caught up to me, and today, there would be no more excuses left to give. Before I open this door and tell you what happened next, take a second. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that change lives, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Lifeline Tales. Because what happened that day, it changed everything. I had never imagined my life would look like this. Just a year ago, I was working a stable job at a small publishing house, waking up with purpose, drinking cheap coffee but with peace in my chest. Then the layoffs came, sudden and ruthless. One email erased years of effort. At first, I thought I'd bounce back quickly. I had skills, I had experience. But weeks turned into months, and rejection emails piled up like silent accusations. Savings drained. Pride cracked. Hope dimmed. The apartment I lived in wasn't much, just a modest space with peeling paint and a stubborn leak in the ceiling, but it was my last piece of stability. And now, even that was slipping through my fingers. I had sold almost everything I owned, my watch, my laptop, even the old guitar that once helped me breathe through tough nights. Still, it wasn't enough. The knock came again, firmer this time, pulling me out of my thoughts. I walked slowly to the door, each step heavy with shame. When I opened it, she stood there, Mrs. Callara. My landlady. She wasn't what people expected when they heard the word landlady. She was elegant, composed, always dressed in simple but graceful clothing. There was a quiet strength in her presence, something that made people straighten their posture without realizing it. But today, her eyes carried something else, disappointment, maybe even fatigue. I could see it clearly. She had heard every excuse before. She had likely dealt with tenants like me countless times. And now I was just another burden she had to deal with. The silence between us stretched painfully. I could feel the weight of my situation pressing down harder with every passing second. I had no money. No plan. No way out. And that's when something unexpected happened inside me. Something broke, but not in the way I thought it would. Instead of begging, instead of lying again, I felt a strange clarity. I stepped aside and let her see inside my apartment. The emptiness spoke louder than words. No furniture except a thin mattress, no decorations, no signs of comfort. Just survival. I didn't offer excuses this time. I offered something else. I told her the truth. Not in dramatic words, not in rehearsed lines, but in raw, unfiltered honesty. I told her about the job I lost, the endless rejections, the nights I went to sleep hungry just to stretch the little money I had left. I told her how I had tried, really tried, to fix things. And then, instead of asking for more time, I made an offer she clearly didn't expect. I offered to work. Not just basic chores or small tasks, but anything she needed. I told her I would clean, repair, organize, manage, assist, whatever it took to repay what I owed, piece by piece. I offered my time, my effort, my dignity, because it was the only thing I had left. For a moment, she said nothing. Her expression didn't change, but I could feel something shift in the air. People expect anger in moments like this. Maybe even cruelty. But what I saw in her eyes wasn't that. It was something deeper. Something conflicted. She stepped inside slowly, her gaze moving across the empty space, absorbing every detail. I could feel my pulse in my throat as I waited for her response. Then she did something I never expected. She sat down. Not on a chair, because there wasn't one, but on the edge of the mattress, as if she wanted to understand my world from the inside. The silence returned, but it felt different this time. Not suffocating, just heavy with thought. That day didn't end with eviction papers. It ended with a chance. The next morning, my life changed in ways I never could have predicted. Instead of packing my belongings, I found myself standing in front of her office building, a place I had never noticed before, despite living nearby for months. It turned out Mrs. Callara wasn't just a landlady. She owned several small businesses, quietly managing them with precision and discipline. She didn't give me charity. She gave me responsibility. I started with simple tasks, organizing documents, cleaning storage rooms, handling minor repairs. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And for the first time in months, I felt useful again. Days turned into weeks. I worked harder than I ever had, not because I was forced to, but because I wanted to prove that her decision to trust me wasn't a mistake. Every drop of sweat felt like a step toward redemption. But the real change wasn't just in my circumstances, it was inside me. I began to notice things about Mrs. Callara that others might have missed. She wasn't cold. She wasn't distant. She was guarded. There was a quiet sadness behind her composed exterior, like someone who had learned the hard way not to expect too much from people. And slowly, without words, something began to shift between us. She started trusting me with more responsibilities. Financial records. Client interactions. Decisions that required judgment. It was as if she was testing me, pushing me to see how far I could go. And I didn't fail. Months passed, and the debt that once felt like a mountain slowly disappeared. But by then, something more valuable had replaced it, a sense of purpose, of belonging. One afternoon, as sunlight filled the office just like it had filled my apartment that day, she called me in. There was something different in her expression, something softer. She handed me a document. It wasn't a bill. It was a contract. A permanent position. I stood there, unable to process what I was seeing. Just months ago, I had nothing. No money, no stability, no hope. And now, I had a future. But the real surprise came with what she said next, not in words, but in the way she looked at me. There was respect there. And something else, something unspoken. That day, I realized something important. Sometimes, when life takes everything away from you, it's not the end. It's an invitation to rebuild, not with what you had, but with who you are. Before we reach the end of this story, take a moment. If this journey is touching your heart even a little, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Your support helps stories like this reach people who might need them the most. Time moved forward, as it always does. My life stabilized. I moved out of that empty apartment into a small but comfortable space. I rebuilt pieces of myself I thought were lost forever. But I never forgot that day. The knock. The silence. The choice. And her. Because what she gave me wasn't just an opportunity. It was a second chance at becoming someone I could be proud of. Years later, when people asked me how I turned my life around, they expected a dramatic answer. A lucky break. A sudden opportunity. But the truth was simpler. It started with honesty. It started with offering something real when I had nothing else left. And it started with someone who chose to see potential instead of failure. Now, before we close this story, I want to ask you something from the heart. If this story made you feel something, hope, warmth, or even a quiet belief in humanity, please engage with this video. Like it, share it, and let others experience it too. And one special request, comment below with the word second chance if you believe everyone deserves one, no matter how broken their situation seems. Because sometimes, the most unexpected offers lead to the most beautiful transformations. And sometimes, all it takes is one person to believe in you when you've stopped believing in yourself.